Welcome to Faith Works Live. Here's your host, Rebecca Haynie.
Faith Works Live. It is my joy to do this with you guys. Thanks so much for joining us on this beautiful slice of eternity. We just get to take this moment to talk about what really matters. And you know that means ultimately the truth of salvation in Jesus Christ. And here and now, one of our heartbeat issues, I guess, one of the reasons that we exist is to promote life and protect and defend life here on our airwaves. And one of our very dearest partners is InnerVisions HealthCare. And you've heard us talk about them before and promote their wonderful mission and ministry to empower women and to save babies right here in the Des Moines Metro. And one of our best friends is Bryan Gonzales. He joins us live in our studio. Bryan, it's been a while since we've been able to hang out in person. How are you?
I know. No, I'm doing well. I appreciate the, we had a baby since the last time I was on, so that's always, you add that to the mix and all that good stuff. So, but it's always a joy to be with you. And I'm always so impressed with your ability to come up with a new intro every single time. Talk about being one with the Holy Spirit, and it just sort of oozes out of you. So well done.
Well, I'm so glad that if I do anything good, it's all to God's glory. And if I do it, all the mistakes are original to me.
There you go.
So that's what I do.
Good. Great disposition. So
the joy that we have is to get to celebrate your mission and your ministry that's so effective. You talk about being in line with the Holy Spirit and walking where God has put you, serving and where God has planted you. You guys have grown exponentially just over the last few years. So let's share in a little bit of some of that success, some of that good news.
I appreciate that. Yeah. So maybe first-time listeners who've never heard of InnerVisions, what is going on today on this program? So InnerVisions HealthCare is a clinic that helps women with unplanned pregnancies. We've been around since 2011, so year 12, I guess. You mentioned the growth. So we have certainly experienced an enormous amount of growth. Something about original sin leading to lots of unplanned pregnancies, something along those lines.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, it happens. And so we are responding to God's promptings to continue a mission, a ministry of being Christ's hands and feet, to have our nurses and advocates meet women where they are, share with them from a medical mission standpoint. We educate, encourage, and empower them with medical information in their unplanned pregnancy, and we hope that they make a life-affirming choice, whether that be parenting or placing their child for adoption. In 2022 alone, we experienced a 66% increase in our most at-risk patients.
Wow.
And so we had the most pregnancy patients we've ever had last year. But if you were to sort of, if you had a spectrum of folks that were more likely to parent versus I'm going to have an abortion today, we had 66% more patients in 2022 than in 2021 who were closer to the end of the spectrum who wanted to have an abortion today. So, of course, that type of clinic, that type of facility, we are directly competing against the abortion industry. And so that, I think, is really interesting from the standpoint of your listeners who might be listening and thinking, how can I help? How can I get involved in the pro-life world? A place like InnerVisions, a nonprofit organization in the community that's offering free medical services to the women of Central Iowa, would really be a place that people could get involved in, and it's a tangible way of being Christ's hands and Christ's feet.
Well, and you approach it from such a compassionate perspective as well. And that's something that we have to, I think we don't necessarily need to give the world all the time, but we have to be aware of the image that's portrayed in the world. It's an ugly one, and it's politicized, and it's very, image conscious, right?
Yes.
The whole world is looking for the picture that they can smear, the picture that they can, wrongfully interpret. And you guys, just by the way that you operate, the way that you reach out, the way that you offer services, it's wholehearted.
Yeah.
and it's relationship based. And you really do find a way to make, even from the first moment that someone walks through your doors, it's welcoming. It's a beautiful facility. Both clinics are beautiful facilities. And you're able to connect personally with the women who are in a pretty scary time, maybe some desperation going on, or fear, or uncertainty, or this is not part of the plan.
Right.
But if you can connect to her on a human level first and foremost, that you care about her, I mean, that's where it all has to start.
It's true. Yeah. And so our nurses are all women. Our advocates are all women. I'm really the only guy that works for the clinic. We've got male board members, and some of our fundraising events, we've got committees and things, and so men are on that. But for the most part, I am the only guy who's ever worked actually for the clinic, in the clinic. And so, I try to at least dress up and look nice,
and you succeed.
Thank
yes.
you. Well, I and part of it too is like, if they mistake me for a doctor, I'm in a medical clinic, and so that kind of makes sense, right? Not that I'm impersonating a doctor, if that's an illegal thing to do, but no. So I think the connecting with a patient is really key. Our advocate will first welcome the mom and bring her back, and just ask her some initial questions to kind of, you might call it an icebreaker, right? But it's really to gather information and gather information on her situation, her circumstances. Sometimes a mom feels like abortion is her only option because she doesn't have food, she doesn't have a job, she doesn't have clothing, she's homeless, she's couch surfing. So if our advocate can identify some of those things, and then we can plug her into certain resources in the community, that's a great way to resolve an additional problem, and that might remove that obstacle from her so she can make a life-affirming choice. Nurse comes along. Nurse provides the medical grade pregnancy test. We also do that ultrasound. It's in our name. I don't know if you have thought, well, you know about it, but your listeners may not have thought about the InnerVisions HealthCare. The ultrasound is a vision inside the womb. So InnerVisions HealthCare, it's in our name. So we feel like the ultrasound is a really important part of the appointment, of the patient appointment. And so, we were visiting earlier, and I think it's remarkable too to think about how early on in the pregnancy our patients join us. So we don't have complete data for 2022 yet. We haven't analyzed it, that is. But through 6 months of 2022, the data we've looked at, 68% of our pregnancy patients have come to us before 7 weeks.
Wow.
Which is really, really early. I mean, you barely know you're pregnant. You miss your period, and then you take a test, and by that time, you're 5, 6, 7 weeks. So we're getting those patients very early on, which means we're getting them before they've had a chance to go to the abortion industry. And so we refer to our services kind of as pre-abortion consultations. We want patients to come to us and have that conversation first. We're free and confidential, so that's kind of a non-threatening way for them to come in. You mentioned the whole relationship part. Of course, being Christ's hands and feet means welcoming them in, right? I mean, I look at whatsoever you do to the least of these, my brethren, you do also to me. That's the kind of, sometimes people say, oh, the Bible passage that probably embodies what you do is Jeremiah, right? Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And I would say, no, it's Matthew. Whatsoever you do to the least of these, my brethren, you do unto me. And that's, we're loving the women who are then the ones, we're loving them and empowering and educating them. They're the ones ultimately that make that life choice,
right,
for their baby. And so, we need to. I mentioned to you earlier today that not all superheroes wear capes; some wear scrubs, and I believe that, and I think it's really true. But our nurses are the ones sort of meeting with that mom and loving on her, and the mom really is the hero and the protagonist in her story.
Bryan Gonzalez from InnerVisions is our special guest. I don't even know if I said your full name. I'm just like, we're just
that's
friends.
right.
Bryan from InnerVisions. But that they've been just the ministry that is so close to our heart over all the years that I've been doing this show. And even before that, during Mike DeMastis's wonderful, just the founding of the show. From the very beginning, I was going to say reign. I don't know. Administration.
There you go.
The DeMastis administration.
So political.
And now under the hate, I repent.
That's right.
I apologize.
Hey, politics are very important. Very important.
That's true. There's a huge aspect of that. And in fact, why don't we take a little bit of a break?
Okay.
And then we'll come back to that because there's a lot of discussion about life in the post-Roe world, and we've chatted about that a bit. There's some exciting things happening in the state of Iowa, a lot of reasons that pro-lifers have been praying, and things that may change coming up. So we can take maybe a quick look at current events, see where we are, and then how people, of course, in any circumstance to support the ministry, no matter what, we're going to need to empower women to choose life in our state. Everyone, the average person who cares about this, can do that by supporting InnerVisions as the hands and feet of this mission. So let's take a little break, and when we come back, we'll hear more from Bryan Gonzales of InnerVisions HealthCare. You can check them out as well. Look up InnerVisions.org, and find ways that you can support them, or just keep listening. We'll give you some good ideas too. You're listening to FaithWorks Live. When a woman faces an unplanned pregnancy, every possible emotion goes through her head. Where can she go for help and for hope? She can go to InnerVisions. Here in our metro, we have 2 healthcare clinics where she will find hope and help. From free pregnancy testing and STD testing to free ultrasounds, InnerVisions serves women and men with STDs who find themselves in vulnerable situations. They're completely free of charge because of generous donations from folks like you. And their medical clinics help their patients get all the information that they deserve, that empowers them to make life-affirming decisions. That's what they do at InnerVisions HealthCare clinics right here in Des Moines. Learn more at InnerVisionsHealthCare.org. That's InnerVisionsHealthCare.org. And you can call 24 hours a day at 515-440-CARE. That's 515-440-2273.
Okay, tell us how to get to heaven.
The Bible says if you confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved.
Finished?
Yep.
Great. I'll read the disclaimer.
Disclaimer.
Really nice people can ignore the previous directions to heaven.
That's not true. The Bible says everyone has sinned and needs to be saved.
Everyone?
Everyone.
Well, then you're implying anybody can be saved.
Yes, if they confess Jesus as Lord.
Yeah, but anybody? No disclaimer at all?
Anybody.
But I know some people I'd never let into heaven.
But you aren't the judge. God is. And he's offered heaven to anyone who puts their faith in his son, Jesus.
But we need a disclaimer. How about relatives of employees are prohibited from...
No.
Taxes, license, and deed?
No.
A limited time offer.
God's offer is good for as long as we live.
Aha! God's offer of heaven is available only while you are breathing.
Fine.
Void where prohibited by law.
Stop that.
Sorry.
Another message from Lifeline Productions, the comic strip of radio at lifelinepro.com.
In today's world, security has never been more vital. And at FaithWorks Live, we're proud to partner with VeriGuard Security. It's a professional physical security service, and they're really raising the bar in security and private investigations. Whether you need a team of professional officers to protect what you have worked hard to build, or their mobile security units for multiple properties or large locations, from business or corporate properties to your home or neighborhood. Perhaps you've got an event coming up. They secure quality security coverage for events large and small, because it's about peace of mind and protecting you, your family, your team, and your property. Settle for nothing less than the best when it comes to your security. You shouldn't have to compromise. When it comes to security, you can trust VeriGuard. Contact them today at veriguard.us. That's VARA guard.us. For security service, you can trust VeriGuard. Thanks for being with us here on FaithWorks Live. Of all the ways that you could spend your time, thank you for spending it with us. And by us, I mean me, Rebecca Haynie. Hi, nice to be with you. And Bryan Gonzales is our special guest from InnerVisions HealthCare. They are a ministry that we're proud to partner with ever since the very beginning of this show, because they are really on the front lines. When we talk about living out our pro-life, it means supporting the amazing work that they do for women in unplanned pregnancy situations. Maybe she's scared scared, just concerned about, I wasn't planning on a baby. I don't even know. Maybe I need to know first and foremost. I need to know what's going on. And she can find help at InnerVisions, from free pregnancy testing and STD testing at the West Side and South Side clinics, as well as ultrasounds, all for free. And they provide the information to empower women to choose life. And that's such a need in our community, Bryan. And you just addressed that at the top of the show. And that need will continue to exist even if the policies change. And here in Iowa, we've had quite a legal battle over the so-called heartbeat law. It was passed in the legislature and then got challenged in the courts. So about 6 years ago now.
Yeah.
And it's coming back around in the state Supreme Court. The governor and her team have been pushing the readdressing of this law. So there was an injunction that was put in place. It hasn't been able to go into effect. That's kind of the short version from a non-lawyer.
Right.
But just someone who's interested in knowing how these laws might change and how that affects how we protect life in the state, as well as what ministries like yours do too. So I know this is something that you're also looking at and looking at the possible changes and what difference this might make.
Yeah. So I want to go there, but the way you introduced this segment was so interesting, because you said when the woman comes into the clinic, she might have fear. She might be. A colleague just sent this yesterday, and so we use PPCs. That's the landing page. So it's kind of marketing techie guru stuff. Patients will say, I want an abortion in Des Moines. They will find InnerVisions, and it's a landing page, and they'll type in some information. And I want to read to you some of the reasons why patients reach out to us. Is that okay if I do that?
Sure, please.
'Cause I think this is what this does is it shows your listeners the extent, the dire straits that some of these women are, right? Young mother who got pregnant again on birth control and homeless can't afford to have another child. So again, these are patients themselves typing on this form, sending it to us for us to reach back out to them and schedule an appointment to come in. So this is what they're telling us. I am needing an ultrasound confirming my pregnancy. I am anywhere between 4 to 8 weeks, not quite sure, but I am in a time crunch due to needing to terminate my pregnancy due to health concerns and just having a child 6 months ago. I want help to get a legal abortion because I was raped and I'm 17 years old and I don't want to have the baby. I mean, let's look just at that one. I'm raped. I'm 17 years old. I don't want to be pregnant, and I don't want to have the baby. She's acknowledging that this is a baby. Yeah. Right. Anyway, I have 23 of these that I could share, but I won't. But just to share with your listeners that there are these women out there that are just in dire straits, and so how can we, in a compassionate way, meet these women? It reminds me of the story of the women caught in adultery, and they're about to throw stones, and Christ jumps in front of them. And so we need to compassionately meet these women and understand really the plight that they're in. And yet, we need to also say, go and sin no more. Don't go have that abortion.
Yes.
Choose life. What can we do to help you in your circumstances? So anyway, kind of big picture, but really tangible examples of the types of situations that we get. So heartbeat bill, because that sometimes can be perceived as not being very compassionate. Well, that's not fair to not let people do that. And I think we're certainly in favor of as much abortion restriction from a legal standpoint as possible. We'll let the legislators and the judicial branch figure all that stuff out. And InnerVisions will continue. What I think we've done for 12 or 13 years is we've always responded to the needs of the community. And so if the community needs this, then we can pivot and do that. So we use the word pivot a lot during COVID, right? When we needed to suspend our STD testing because we didn't want to get pregnant patients sick, potentially, we chose to temporarily suspend our STD testing. So again, let's kind of let the chips fall where they may. What's interesting about the heartbeat bill, of course, we didn't really pay much attention to it in 2018 because of the injunction, but with the recent conversations surrounding what the heartbeat bill might go into effect and what that might look like, we decided, well, we should probably read the bill and know what's in it. And so we brought in a lawyer friend who kind of has a lawyer mind and can read the bill and help translate it to, I'm not medical and I'm not legal, but I need help figuring it out, right?
Sure.
So basically, the bill says, and for non-legal scholars, that a physician performs an abortion cannot be performed on a woman who has a detectable fetal heartbeat conducted by a physician. I'm fumbling over the words, but an abdominal ultrasound, right? So an abdominal ultrasound needs to be performed by a physician, and if a detectable fetal heartbeat is found, then no abortion. So what's interesting there is, first of all, physician. I mean, lots of places in the state, in the world, you have sonographers and RDMSs, and our nurses are trained in limited obstetric ultrasound, so they're not full-on RDMSs. We don't want to have the full-on RDMSs because that costs a lot of money. So from a donor stewardship standpoint, we train our nurses in how to do that. So that's one aspect. The other is abdominal ultrasound. It's a really interesting medical procedure because when is an abdominal ultrasound? When can a fetal heartbeat be detected using an abdominal ultrasound? Maybe 10 to 12 weeks, maybe 8 weeks, right?
In my own experience, I know it's been 8 to 10 depending, but there's a lot of variance there.
Right. If you have nefarious motives, maybe you don't take the abdominal probe and press down hard enough to find that. I mean, in your case, you wanted to find the heartbeat, so your doctor, or RDMS or whatever, is trying to find that heartbeat. If you don't have a vested interest in finding a detectable fetal heartbeat, then maybe you won't push down as hard. These are these types of things that the heartbeat bill in Iowa, at least, I think the other side was the one who actually put 6 weeks on it, and they did it for political reasons, right? These crazy pro-lifers don't want anybody to have an abortion after 6 weeks. Well, that's actually not what the bill says. The bill doesn't put any gestational age on from a legal standpoint. So I think this term, I don't think I've invented it, but it's the squishability of the law. It's going to be interesting how this all shapes out. And so I don't know. I don't know if you've talked about it from a legal standpoint with any legal scholars or somebody. If there are people that can kind of help us understand the law, that would be awesome. If you want to have them, send them our way. That'd be great.
We'll get a roundtable going. I love a good roundtable.
I love it.
Well, and this is an issue that's coming up before the court. So I think for the practical application for most of us is that we can pray for wisdom as this is being approached. Around here on the show, we believe that all life deserves to be protected, no exceptions to that. And so we continue to pray for and work for and fight for the day that will be true here in the state of Iowa. I think we have an opportunity, just as a vision casting right now.
Sure.
That maybe that's the wrong term, but big picture, we have an opportunity in the state of Iowa to protect all life. And that means from the moment of conception all the way until God calls us home. He is the author of life, and that is what our state should reflect. There are lots of different strategies that we're pursuing in order to allow our laws to reflect God's beautiful reality. And so for right now, it seems like all the effort and attention is on this court case that is before the Iowa Supreme Court. This is the question we can pray for, but we must continue to work for a time when all life is protected from the very moment of conception, and that we're not intentionally killing any people in our state or allowing that. So I guess that's where we fall. I don't know if that
and well, and I think it's amazing. I mean, it was less than a year ago, and it was 9 months or so ago. June 17th and June 24th are two really important days. I mean, the heartbeat bill that we're even talking about now would not be relevant if the Iowa Supreme Court did not reverse and remand the 2018 decision. So, thanks be to God for that decision. And then a week later, when Roe versus Wade was overturned and it goes back to the states. So, I mean, the pro-life movement right now across the country, I mean, even in places like Kansas, which was delivered a significant blow last summer, the fact that this is no longer sort of a closed case at the federal level, but we can have these conversations at the state level, I think is a really good thing.
Well, and it's our responsibility, and I think it has been for a long time, to do whatever we can, right, where we are. So if you're at the federal level, I think there's absolutely a case to be made under the 5th and 14th Amendments to look at that approach. If we're here in the state, we can work on the state level. You can even work in your local communities, in particular in your local churches. There is a sanctuary city movement to say we don't have abortion in our city, and we don't allow that here. We support life in our city, in our county. You could, wherever your influence extends, and whatever I think God puts on your heart, whatever He gives you, whatever resources you might have, look for those open doors.
Sure.
But everybody can pray, and everybody can support their local pregnancy centers, their local resource centers. And if you don't have one near you, then maybe that's an opening. Maybe God's putting something in your heart and in your awareness to act on. Around here, we have InnerVisions, and we support InnerVisions HealthCare, not just because of your mission, but because you're so good at what you guys do as well. You operate with great hearts, but also with excellence in the way that you serve women and families here in our community too. So I just want to give you kudos on that.
Thank you.
That
Yeah,
what you're doing is working.
One of our 3 core values actually is to strive for excellence, and so we obviously want to do that from a Christian standpoint, but we also want to do that from a medical standpoint. So trying to make sure that we're keeping up to date on the legal side, what medical best practices to do. We do transvaginal ultrasounds at our clinic, and so that allows us to detect a fetal heartbeat at 5 weeks, 6 days, as early as 5 weeks, 6 days. We have a medical director. We operate under his license. So, I mean, we've checked all of the boxes, because I think it's also really important. There's some smear campaigns out there from the other side. There have always been, but I think with the mom's bill now, that's kind of we've had some more of these surface and bubble to the top, and so I think it's really important in this day and age to make sure that if you're medical, you're doing the medical things right. And if you choose not to be medical, that's fine too, right? So InnerVisions doesn't do everything, and we have to have pro-life partners in our industry that we're able to refer out to, and lots of different organizations in Des Moines and around the state we have great relationships with. And so I think it's important to sort of state that, because InnerVisions is doing its part in this whole work, this whole pro-life work, and this whole pro-life movement. We feel like it's a really important part. We know that there are 4,000 plus abortions every year in the state of Iowa, and we're preventing a small portion of that. There's a lot more work to be done. Mike DeMastis referred to it once as it's really good to have more firefighters come into the scene of a fire, right? And so we sort of view all of our partners in this movement as fire trucks, and we're all kind of doing our best to put out the fire.
Absolutely. We need all the help that we can get on this fight. And something that you said reminded me that we've got a lot of educating, I think, to do, a lot of information to be given to people in the wake of the Roe reversal at the Supreme Court level. The outcry was great, and there were a lot of misinformation, targeted misinformation campaigns. And I was on the receiving end of a lot of vitriol at that time. I mean, most pro-lifers were. If you dared to stand up and say, no, I actually believe that babies are awesome and that birthdays are good. And, and this is a blessing.
Crazy
for God.
person.
It's wonderful.
Racist.
We were called all manner of names and said that we don't care about women, even though they can't define what a woman is.
Right.
But I think the educational opportunity, so silver lining side, the educational opportunity is great. The need is great so that people know what it is we're even talking about biologically speaking. There's an awful lot of intentional misinformation from the side that we've allowed to educate our kids for the last several generations has been specifically and intentionally pro-abortion. Like, we have Planned Parenthood sex education curriculum in our schools, and we have had for the last several generations. So is it any wonder that we're assuming that we are bearing the fruit of that bitter root? So I guess one branch of this question, and I will get to the question. Thanks for your patience. One branch of the question is, what are some of the ways that we can start to combat the lies that are out there? Because a lot of women are angry, or they're concerned, or they're afraid. They believe that some right has been taken away from them. They think that this is going to be an oppressive future for women, that, the concern that's out there has been crafted by the father of lies.
Yeah.
So how do we start shedding the light on some of these, I hate to call them arguments because I don't want it to always be combative.
Sure.
But what are some ways that we can stand for the truth and the beauty of life, even in maybe a tense or a hostile conversation? What are some of the ways that we can debunk those lies?
Yeah. So I would say the first thought I have is the father of lies will always be around, or at least until the second coming, and he squashes them, right? So, there's only so much we can do, and there will always be people who just have an axe to grind and believe a certain thing, and so we're still called to love those people and to still called to try and to do the best we can. So, but I also think that if you just redouble your efforts InnerVisions is going to continue to do the things that we do, and we do have progressive pro-choice supporters. That might surprise you or some of your listeners, but it's because of our radical dedication to helping women in crisis, and they view that as, wow, maybe they're not just pro-birth, right? So that's usually the criticism of us pro-lifers. You're just pro-birth. You don't care about the woman. Well, at a place like InnerVisions, we actually love them both, right? There's the love them both movement, and I think that we love the mom. We certainly hope that she chooses parenting adoption, and Abby Johnson once said, if in order to save the life of the baby, you have to provide for the needs of that mother. Sometimes the needs are material, financial, educational, right? So just keep loving on the mom, and we're going to keep doing that no matter what the bill is, no matter what the law is. And so that's kind of, I would say, we're going to keep doing that medical mission of loving that mom. However, a brand new thing, so InnerVisions, the model is reactive, right? Woman gets pregnant, comes InnerVisions, wants an abortion. Obviously, we don't provide an abortion, but we react to her circumstances and try to help her best we can. We are becoming more proactive. Over the years, we've always had some sort of proactive program where we're able to go into churches, schools, and youth groups. That's kind of changed over the years as personnel has changed and volunteers and staff and things. But we've got two young ladies that are putting together a program, and it's not sex ed, right? Because who wants to have a sex ed talk, right? It's kind of cliche and people don't like it, but it's talking about good, healthy relationships, setting good boundaries and things like that. And I think you can there's certainly a framework in that paradigm to be talking about sexual health in the terms of good, healthy relationships overall, right? And so that's what we're working on right now. So that's something that we'll be able to launch at schools, churches, and youth groups probably, the summer, but nobody's in school in the summer except for homeschoolers, making up for all the math lessons that we didn't finish throughout the year. But, certainly next fall. So, I don't know, we probably don't have a website up for it yet, but I would say if folks wanted to visit ivhcare.org is our donor-supported page. That might be a place if you've got listeners who might be interested in learning more about having one of our nursing staff come to their church, school, or youth group and share about making good relationship choices that obviously is going to have an impact in their sexual health and things like that.
Well, and as you mentioned, the breakdown is so systemic. It's multi-generational now at this point, and it doesn't just start with the one decision to have sex out of marriage or whatever that might be. It starts with a misunderstanding of the family, a breakdown in the family. It starts with you don't understand your identity and you're searching for something to make you feel loved and wanted, or any number of situations that occur where people are misaligned with, like you said, sin breaks things. And when we need to set those foundational principles, that takes place in the family. And so it's no surprise that Satan's attacking that family, so that not only so that we will be broken, but so that that highway of information, that place, that foundational building ground is disrupted as well. And that's happened now for so many years in our culture that we're, again, seeing that fruit of it. But the encouraging silver lining side is that we get to, the opportunity is massive. Yeah. And I never thought, I guess I guess I never thought I'd see the day when the real rebels in our society are the ones with the white picket fence and the wedding ring.
Yeah,
like that's where we are
that's
right
right.
now.
That's right.
It doesn't matter. Everybody's got tattoos and crazy hair.
Right,
Now,
right.
if you really want to be, avant-garde or you
Yeah.
want to be cutting edge,
I'd throw
you got to
throw
stay
homeschooling in
stay
there.
married.
Those
You get to be the
radical
homeschooling weirdo.
homeschoolers. Yeah. Nothing against traditional schooling, of
No,
course. but,
that's an
yeah.
inside joke because that's the story for both of
That's
us.
right. That's right. Shout out to homeschoolers.
Yes, the more kids, the merrier. It's
That's
a
right.
beautiful thing.
That's right.
We got crazy dogs. We got an old, Victorian house. Like
There you
the
go.
picture is complete.
Yep.
And it's a beautiful thing. And discovering that joy of family. Now, for people who don't have that kind of picture,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's maybe we can go over some of those that picture again for someone who's coming into this in a less than ideal circumstance.
Right.
They're like, this is not one in the plan. Maybe it's a teenager who has been kicked out of the house and is scared that she might be pregnant, and so abortion is an escape, or she thinks that's her only option.
Right.
Or maybe it's financial reasons. Maybe she already has kids and she doesn't think that she can afford to feed another. It's hard out there. Life is hard for so many people to even just make ends meet. And then you throw another baby in the mix. There's that Jim Gaffigan joke that I kind of think is funny. And he's like, what's it like to have 5 kids? Just imagine you're drowning and someone hands you a baby.
Yeah, that's right.
Which we laugh about, but that's a real struggle is how do you make ends meet and how on earth can I afford to have another kid?
Right.
So these are real life concerns. And I think it's so critical that we, as you mentioned, we step up and support not only just with words or with slogans or nice feelings, but that we are able to pinpoint the needs that are there and answer the real heart level fears that people have.
Yeah, we refer to our work as trench work. I mean, our nurses are, figuratively getting dirty and muddy, and it's not a pretty. I think sometimes people have this idea of like, oh, it's glorious to do pro-life ministry, and it's like, if you've ever stood outside an abortion clinic, you're gonna, with kids, you should like cover their ears, and it's not a pretty job, but it's worthwhile. It's worth it. A quick story: patient comes in a couple months ago with a support person, boyfriend, and she has a daughter. Just kind of has a normal appointment, and then and she was Hispanic, and so we were working through an interpreter. And then I don't know, maybe a couple days later, she calls us back, and she calls from a hotel and says, "I couldn't tell you this at the time, but the guy I was with, he's abusing me. We're in a domestic abuse situation." She's actually calling through an interpreter, and she said, "He's finally kicked me out." And I don't have a place to go. He put me up in a hotel for one night, and I don't know what to do. He wants me to have an abortion. I don't want to have an abortion, but I don't know what to do. And I've got this other daughter, and so we sort of, okay, do you have a safe place to go? Yes, but they're on the West Coast. I'm like, we're in Iowa. Do you have a way to get to the West Coast? No, I don't. And we're like, okay, great. Let's get you an Amtrak ticket. Well, the nearest Amtrak station, it's in Osceola, but for some reason to get to the West Coast, we had to get her to Omaha. So we get her an Uber to Omaha and then get her to the West Coast. She checks in. She's at a sibling's house, and she's in a safe place. So, obviously we do the medical stuff, and the medical stuff's really key, and the nurses wear the scrubs. But every once in a while, we get to do these, I would call them heroic things of trying to get this woman out of that cycle, right? You're talking about the cycle that patients find themselves in. What can we do to help these women get out of the situations so that she can make a difference and choose life?
Yeah. And that's more than just a one-time choice, too. It's the reality of life.
Right.
And I guess that's something that I say to encourage people that there's a place for you in this. It's not just meeting a woman, a mom at that, decision point, although that may be the case. But there's also coming alongside them when that baby is 3 months old and they really need a babysitter. They need someone to help them organize or go to a job interview or, that the reality of life is that we're supposed to do it together. And we were talking about that. We're human beings and God designed us for relationship. So in this like virtual world, especially the distance that's been created over the last 3 years or so, I think we don't even know the harm that we've done to ourselves by starving those relationships, those one-to-one contact situations. We need community, and we need to look into the eyes of another human being and say, brother, sister, I love you and I care about you, and we're in this together, and you're not alone. And just the hope that comes from that sentiment alone is so valuable. And that's just one of the many reasons why people can wholeheartedly support your mission at InnerVisions HealthCare. Bryan Gonzales is our excellent guest and one of our longtime friends, partners, and we're so proud to promote the work that you guys do. We're going to take a quick break, but we have several opportunities. Some people come back. We'll tell them how to help. We've got another big event coming up, so maybe you can dust off your formal wear as well and come and meet you in person and support the empowering work to empower both moms and babies right here in our own backyard. Stay tuned for more here on FaithWorks Live.
This is your captain speaking. We've encountered some difficulties with our landing gear and will have to perform an emergency landing. Please assume the crash position.
The crash position? I wasn't watching! Where's the stewardess? Will somebody tell me the crash position?
Hey, sit down!
Oh, Lord, I don't want to die. I'll give you 50% of my pay. I'll go to church every Sunday, except maybe Super Bowl Sunday.
Ladies and gentlemen, just to let you know, the emergency vehicles are on the runway and prepared for any catastrophe.
Okay, Super Bowl Sunday!
This is your captain speaking. We have successfully lowered the nose gear.
That's right, God. 20% of my pay. I'll go to church every Sunday. We'll negotiate football season. Just get me home.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have successfully lowered all landing gear. Sorry for the inconvenience.
What do you need all that money for, God? I only get 2 days off a week.
Are you God's servant every day or only when you need Him? Another message from Lifeline Productions, the comic strip of radio, at lifelinepro.com.
Hey, what's for dinner? If you're like me, I hear that 15 times a day. And fortunately, I have a plan. It's typically Anonymous beef at our house. We are such big fans of Anonymous beef at the Haynie home because it's just great quality beef. There's no steroids or antibiotics. It's naturally raised butcher beef. They sell by the quarter, the half, or the whole, and they support your local meat lockers so they can help you get it processed in a way that works for you. In this economy, it's good to have affordable options for your meat. And if you're willing to make a good investment in your nutrition for a healthy menu plan, I highly recommend Anonymous Beef. Contact Dave and Mary Lynn at anonymousbeef.com. They welcome your questions. They'll help get you on the schedule. They have locker dates coming up. Don't wait. Secure your locker date today. Go to anonymousbeef.com. That's OHNEMUS beef.com. There's no better time than now to stand for life. And you can stand with Iowa's original pro-life organization, Pulse for Life. They're the longest standing nonprofit pro-life organization in Iowa, and they are dedicated to informing, educating, and inspiring a new generation to value the sanctity of all human life, from fertilization until natural death. They serve at the State House. They educate in classrooms, at events. They proudly serve on the coalition of pro-life leaders. They are on the front lines of the battle against this throwaway culture of death that we see all around us, and we are winning ground. Hearts and minds are changing, and the pro-life movement is continuing to grow. And you can be a part of the exciting things that are happening right here in our own backyard at pulseforlife.org and get your finger on the pro-life pulse. Sign up for their newsletter, find ways that you can make a difference, and how you can change hearts and minds with their pro-life apologetics course, pulseforlife.org. We're in the home stretch here on FaithWorks Live, and I'm just smiling ear to ear because I'm thinking about what it will look like when God's people live out our pro-life. And there's so many ways that we can do that. We are proud to partner with InnerVisions HealthCare clinics here on our show. Always have been and will as long as these microphones stay open. Bryan Gonzales is our expert guest, and he's just a good guy as well.
A lot of these superlatives, excellent and great and all this stuff. I'm just a guy. So getting in front of a microphone.
But you're a husband, a dad. You care about moms. You care about babies. You care about building a culture of life. And we're 110% on board with that here. Yeah. Our slogan has always been live out our pro-life. Like there needs to be action to match the conviction as well. We show our faith by our love. And there are so many ways. There's a part for everybody to play in this. And you had a wonderful idea that really anybody can do. So let's talk about that. How can we support and start building that culture of life that we talk about in real, tangible ways?
Yeah, it's funny because, of course, I get paid to ask people to get involved with the work at InnerVisions, and either as a donor or an ambassador or a volunteer or a prayer warrior. But as we were talking about this sort of culture of life and trying to help moms, because it's often, I mean, I don't know what the statistics are. You probably have them. How many households are kids growing up in with no dad, right? And so you got single moms are at a record high, and
the increase is staggering.
It really is, and fatherless families. The governor mentioned that during her condition of the state address. Tied in with Sarah Herm was our guest speaker last year, and things. And so, the idea that I had, just sort of as we were talking about this in the last segment, was usually I ask people for money, but I'm not going to ask them for money. I don't. If you come to the gala, great. I want to ask everybody, in light of the fact that last week was on March 8th was International Women's Day. I think it would be great for everybody who's listening to find a mom and to go do one nice thing for them. Let them go out on a date with their spouse or their boyfriend. Let them go out for a respite night with their girlfriends, babysit their kids. Maybe you can mow their lawn when the weather gets warm, maybe rake their leaves in the fall. Reach out to them and just offer to do something and expect nothing in return. And I think that type of those actions, faith and actions, right? Faith and work. Faith. What is this? Faith Works Live. Yeah, there you go. It's all tied together.
It does.
That's like the red ribbon, the silver bow. That I think is a small thing that we can. I think people want to say, "Oh, let's get legal changes and let's go and do a march," and all those things are good, but a lot of times they're out of our control. What can we control? What I tell my kids all the time: you can't control the actions of other people. You can only control your own actions, and so. Do that. That's my ask today is for everybody listening to go do one nice thing for a mom, a random act of kindness, and I think that mom, it'll have an effect on her. The ripple effect will have an effect on her and her kids and her family and all that stuff. So there you go.
And she can feel seen and valuable. And sometimes just speaking as a mom, things get hectic and you're doing things for other people and you just think, hopefully my needs will be met. Yeah. Like even as a Christian mom, it can be difficult if you're living a life of service. That's where our heart is. But maybe you don't feel like, those needs come up as like, I know I'm supposed to be dying to myself here, but
right.
that may be more literal than
I might be dying, not dying to myself.
Can I get a hand here?
A quick example. So we just had our 8th child back in November.
God bless your wife, by the way.
He has, and but it was really tough. Just a really tough postpartum. Baby was colicky and things like that. And somebody right after in January had sort of heard about this and paid for a professional cleaner, Marie Fitch, if anybody's looking. I don't remember her I don't remember her company. Sorry, Marie. But Google Marie Fitch or reach out to InnerVisions and I'll get you her name and number. But paid for 3 hours for her to come to our house and clean our house.
That is
what
such a great gift.
Yeah. So anyway, just things like that I think are really great, and that's going to help change the culture of life and empower women even more and help moms out. So more germane to InnerVisions, we have an annual gala every year. This year, Dr. William Lyle, he was here last year. Did you attend Bob Vanderplatz's event? So he spoke
blew
at
everybody
that event.
away.
It was incredible. I watched the video. He was on our radar. We almost brought him in 2019 when we opened our second clinic on the South Side. We were thinking of having a talk or something like that, and we thought about having him. But it was after that event that Bob did that we thought, we got to have Dr. Lyle, because we're a medical clinic after all, and we want to bring in a doctor to help validate what we're doing. So he's going to be our speaker June 1st, ivhcare.org. You can go to that website and more information about the gala. Because we don't charge our patients, receive state and federal grant money, or do any insurance, then 100% of our free programs and services have to be underwritten, and our gala raises about 35-40% of that every year. So we'd love to have as many of your listeners join us that night on June 1st, and we're excited.
Wouldn't miss it. Dr. Lyle is going to be awesome. And it's always a good time because you can wholeheartedly support life and a wonderful mission. It's local. You're answering the needs that are out there, and you get to celebrate lives saved, lives changed. There's no reason not to go.
That's right. That's right. Dust off your fancy dresses and suits.
I was going to say, put on your dancing shoes.
Put on your dancing shoes. Not much dancing. Although last year we had a first ever after party, and that was really fun and a blast, and lots of people went. Optional. So the other nice thing about the gala, I think, is that our hard stop at 8:30. So we wrap up. It's kind of an earlier night. It's a Thursday night, so people might have to work on Friday, and so we want to respect that. We could be good stewards of our donors' time as well as their resources, and so we wrap it up at 8:30. But if people want to keep the party going, they can do that, and maybe there's some dancing there at the after party. So
not for me. Nobody wants to see that. But your bow tie, maybe get your bow tie and your nice heels, and maybe a babysitter.
That's right.
That's the way that they can do this. They can put it on the calendar if you want to help a mom and dad go for a night out, or a mom, she can come to the InnerVisions gala, and just as a mom that had to bring her little baby.
Yep. Nursing babies are certainly welcome. Like, what kind of pro-life organization are we if nursing babies can't come?
It was beautiful. So, there were so many kids there, so many little ones there, and it's the celebration. Yeah. It's the testimony to the success, really, of what you guys do. So it was beautiful, and looking forward to it for our household too. And you can get more information at ivhcare.org. Yep. That's ivhcare.org. Bryan Gonzales, it is always wonderful to get a chance to talk with you, to share about the amazing work, the life-saving work that's going on at InnerVisions HealthCare clinics. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on.
And if you want to encourage others to get well, let's just say to practice what we preach when it comes to pro-life. That's what we need to do. If you're excited, I am encouraged by what's going on right now, by what God is doing in our midst, and I just want to be a part of it. I want to say, how can I help? Put me in, coach. There's a way for everybody to help, and one way that we do that here is by supporting the mission at InnerVisions. My family does, and we do that with our airwaves as well, and I encourage you to find the part that you can play with this mission, and they are serving really in the trenches, like Bryan said. So this is where the rubber meets the road when it comes to our pro-life convictions. We have to be empowering moms with true information, and to counter any fears, to counter the lies that are out there. We need to be shining the truth, especially in a dark time. Maybe that's the case for someone with an unplanned pregnancy, and we can be there to help, to provide hope, to provide true information about her body, about her baby, and about her next steps, to empower her to support life and to save the babies while we're at it. So thank you for listening, and I encourage you to go to ivhcare.org and find the part that you can play with their ministry today. Start by praying and finding a mom to support in your life, to be kind to her and to show her the love of Christ. So until next time, we have a mission, so let's be about it.
Information that matters to you and your family. This is Your Beacon, Iowa's Hope 940.